fighting evil by moonlight, winning love by daylight. Feature here running from a real fight. She's the one named Sailor Moon. Hi, I'm CJ, and I'm a Sailor Moon addict. In 1991, a magical thing happened. I was born! Oh, and Sailor Moon was created too. But over here in the States, we didn't become all too familiar with the pretty soldier in a sailor suit until the late 90s with the run of the English dub. It was my introduction into anime, and was a favorite among young girls in a media landscape that hardly included more than one important female character per cartoon. It was an incredibly popular series, and helped get me and many of my friends into anime. It's no surprise then that 20 years later, it stands as one of the most recognizable anime out there. It's also not a surprise that it would someday get a reboot like so many other franchises. Dragon Ball got Super, but unfortunately Sailor Moon got, not so super. Before I continue, I should clarify that I'm a huge Sailor Moon fan, but I'm not an ignorant one. Even in the original anime and manga, which I worship on a daily basis, there are clear problems in characterization, plot, and art. These things don't ruin the overall enjoyment of the series, but I like to acknowledge them now to clarify that my critiques of this new show are well in light of this franchise's past. I am a fan of Sailor Moon, but I'm still aware of its flaws. I'm also only going to be talking about the first 14 episodes, since the Black Moon arc is just ending, and I don't think it would be fair to talk about that for those who, for whatever reason, are still interested in this series after viewing this video. So if you're just getting into Sailor Moon, how do you go about doing it? Do you watch the old anime? Do you watch this new anime? Would Sailor Moon Crystal be a good start? Well, here are my top 5 reasons Sailor Moon Crystal should not be your introduction to Sailor Moon. It's rushed. Despite Toei Animation releasing it a whole year later than it was supposed to, and having an average of 2 weeks to work on each episode versus 1 for the first series, Sailor Moon Crystal looks and feels rushed. Toei Animation cut corners with this anime, and it shows, from the lackluster CGI transformations to incredibly stupid errors like Sailor Venus's costume changing from her old to her new between frames, and Queen Serenity's color scheme being wrong in the opening for the first 5 episodes. It's clear that whoever is in charge of Sailor Moon Crystal either doesn't care about the show or doesn't have the time or money to. And for a show that was supposed to celebrate the 20-year anniversary of the franchise, that's pretty terrible. No one but Sailor Moon shines. One of my favorite parts about Sailor Moon is the interaction she has with her friends. You can see this in just about any version of the story. Part of what makes the Sailor Soldiers fight so hard is that Sailor Moon has inspired them to do so. In Sailor Moon Crystal, there's barely any characterization beyond Sailor Moon herself and her miracle romance with Tuxedo Mask. Beyond their introduction episodes, the Sailor Soldiers hardly get any time to shine or interact. In fact, scenes where they actually did interact or show their personalities in the manga were extremely dumbed down or cut entirely. When parody anime Cute High Earth Defense Club Love has more believable character development and friendship than Sailor Moon, you know there's a serious problem. It's a failure of an adaptation. Before I continue, I should clarify that a failure to adapt doesn't necessarily mean that a work doesn't have exact adaptation. Adaptation can be something good, like removing Amy's weird distaste for computers in the second episode, since working with computers is a huge part of her character. I'm talking about a failure to correct errors, or worse, when errors are added in. One particular example I can think of is in episode 6. In the manga, Usagi falls under the same evil spell as every other citizen. She's driven to madness trying to locate the Silver Crystal. In Sailor Moon Crystal, it's only her mother who falls under the spell. So when Usagi leaves her home, she ends up fainting near the roadside for no reason. In the manga, she was physically exhausted, but here it doesn't make any sense why she would do that. There are plenty more errors, but the most glaring one was the added content with the 4 generals. I'm not a huge fan of these guys and was never into the shipping thing between them and the Sailor Soldiers, but even I was a little curious as to why they were kept alive instead of being killed off like they were in the manga. Fans hoped we would get a climactic battle with them and the soldiers. Some even hoped that a romance would be fulfilled between them. With the soldiers already having barely any characterization, it was embarrassing when they all proclaimed that they fell in love with the 4 generals in their past lives like some kind of robotic hive mind. To make things worse, when the 4 generals did break out of the evil mind control over them, this happened.
ピーナス。
軍在と
この役立たずども、闇の力を拒む者は自らの闇の力で滅びや。
An orbital death laser? I didn't know you could do that, Queen Metalia. You're telling me that you could blast a death laser at any time you wanted? Why didn't you blast the other soldiers while you were at it? I mean, it didn't seem to be a problem at all for you, especially since you did it when literally the only person who could defeat you, Sailor freaking Moon, was right in front of you at the time. Many Sailor Moon fans claim that Sailor Moon Crystal is the definitive version of the story and the true vision of the manga. I honestly find that very, very hard to believe. There's better stuff out there. There are tons of fun ways to get into Sailor Moon now. There's obviously the cheesy yet fun original anime. There's also the 20-year-old manga, which when read in the context of its time is an absolute joy. Even though it has some bad effects, Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon is considered by many Sailor Moon fans to be the best adaptation of the first arc. Its writing and character interactions easily make up for the fact that Luna the Cat is a plushie near the entire time. If you want to watch something new, there are plenty of modern magical girl anime out there. Puella Magi Madoka Magica is targeted toward older audiences of both genders and is adored by many anime fans. For a more obscure title, Yuki Yuna is a Hero has a good mix of magical girl, slice of life, and drama, and has been compared to Magica as being a fairly good magical girl anime. Those shows are only 13 and 12 episodes long, unlike the original Sailor Moon's 200, so I definitely would recommend them over the original anime if you're looking to get into magical girl series. And if you're into musicals, you could always check out the old Sailor Moon musicals, one of which has Sailor Moon fighting Dracula of all people. Or you could watch the new one celebrating the 20-year anniversary. I would only recommend the musicals for people who are already familiar with the story since they condense a lot of information down. Still, I really like the 20-year anniversary musicals and their choices for adaptation. Don't have enough time to show Usagi meeting Mamoru? Have a cute scene and song where they express the quirkiness of their relationship. Can't have your child actress fall down from the top of the stage like she's fallen out of the sky? Have a song where Usagi ponders how and why Chibiusa fell from the sky. That also serves as a means for us to understand their tense relationship. What I wanted out of Sailor Moon Crystal was what I got out of these recent musicals. The music and choreography isn't always great, but the story is phenomenal. And the first one even has a bit of that Four Generals romance you've always wanted. But done right. And Tuxedo Mask is pretty cute to boot, too. Oh wait, is that a woman? Yeah, that is a woman. Wait a second. They're all women! Cool. And finally, the animation. Again, Dragon Ball got super, Sailor Moon Crystal got not super. This is a huge disappointment and an embarrassment. These days, I watch a lot of anime, and sometimes I can pick out a few frames or a few moments that don't really seem right. But I always go back to thinking, well, at least it's not as bad as Sailor Moon Crystal. And when Sailor Moon Crystal is my definition for the lowest that anime can go, well, you know that something went wrong. To summarize, if you enjoy Sailor Moon Crystal, that's totally cool. There's no shame in that. But if you're looking to watch Sailor Moon for the first time or get back into it now, you have better options. Thanks for watching my video. Subscribe and like if you'd like to see more. Agree or disagree with me? I'd love to read your comments. Until next time, this is CJ, signing off.